So welcome back. Thank you for your questions in the previous panel. Just as a reminder, we use the Q&A function to ask questions during this session. This is the clinical legal education panel, where you'll learn how you'll get required practical experience in our nationally ranked clinic, one of our many clinics, or through an externship program. So we have Professor Johnson and 3 students who I know well, and I'm going to turn it over to Professor Johnson so she can start introduce the students and tell you more about our clinical programs.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're excited to share the information about our clinical program and our externship program. My name is Margaret Johnson. I'm the Associate Dean for Experiential Education here at the University of Baltimore School of Law. I'm also a professor of law, and I direct one of the clinics, the Bronfein Family Law Clinic. I'm joined by 3 students, Andrew Harvey, who's a student in the Community Development Clinic. You'll hear from him shortly. Raquel Flynn, who's a student attorney in the Civil Practice Clinic for the 2nd semester, and Aji Francisco, who is one of my students in the Bronfein Family Law Clinic. What we're going to do first is I'm going to give you an overview about the clinical program and the externship program. Then I'm going to turn it over to each student to talk a little bit about their experiences. I think through the course of this discussion, we will tap on many of the questions you submitted in advance, but we are going to have lots of time at the end for any new questions or questions that you submitted in advance that we didn't quite get to. And we are very much looking forward to interacting with you so that you get your questions answered today. I'm going to share my screen. And give you a little bit of an overview of the clinical law program and the externship program here at the University of Baltimore. So why are you going to law school? I think that's a really important question. I'm sure you have an answer to it, but just think about it. Why are you going? Probably for many of you, it's to be a lawyer, probably all of you, and to make a difference. I mean, we are filled with media images of lawyers who bring justice every day, whether it be in the sex crimes victims unit, whether it be Brian Stevenson in that bottom right corner who does death penalty work in real life. This is Michael B. Jordan portraying him in the Just Mercy movie. Or if you wanted to be Atticus Finch since you were little from To Kill a Mockingbird. And why UB? Why should you come to UB Law School? I would say come for the clinics. We have amazing clinics, and they are focused around making sure that you get to practice law with real clients. You will be mentored by faculty, and I'll talk more about that, and other mentors, as Andrew will talk about. And you're going to make a difference. You're going to make a difference in your client's life and in our community's lives. So let me tell you a little bit about our program. We're super proud that the University of Baltimore School of Law's clinical program is ranked number 14th in the country by US News and World Report. It has been nationally ranked, highly ranked for a very, very long time. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, and it's because of our strong foundations that we always are ranked highly. Now, why are we ranked highly? I'll give you 3 reasons, and they go back to those 3 points I said at the beginning. First of all, practicing law. In our clinical program, you will be licensed as a student attorney to practice law. You will represent the clients. You will interview them, counsel them, represent them in trials, negotiate agreements, draft contracts for them. You are the first chair lawyer, of course, supported by faculty who are teaching you how to do that and supporting your work. And so let me talk a little bit about our faculty. Our faculty are full-time here at the law school teaching the clinic. They are both excellent lawyers. Most of them have practiced law for a very long time. For instance, I practiced law for about 10 years before I started clinical teaching, and I've had a wide experience of federal court practice, state court practice, and administrative law practice in a wide-ranging area of law. And that's true for our faculty. They have been excellent and are excellent lawyers. For instance, we have the leading Innocence lawyer in the state of Maryland, and she teaches our Innocence practice project clinic, excuse me. But these people are not just excellent lawyers, they're excellent teachers. We are renowned across the country, not just for being excellent lawyers, but we are asked to train other clinical law professors around the country routinely because we're known for being great teachers. Our faculty have written books and articles about how best to teach students in a clinical law program. And so that really means that you're getting excellent teaching while you're in the clinic. In addition, the faculty are excellent researchers and scholars and social justice advocates. We have one faculty member who has written a book that's become a national model for making sure that foster care children get to keep the money that they would be given by the state. We have other people who have reformed the family law clinic system, the family law legal system, excuse me, in Maryland. And we work within that legal system because of the law professor's work in that area. So too, do we have a law professor who's working on changing the veterans law benefit system. So we have leading advocates as well who are faculty. Another reason why UB is highly ranked is we have so many clinics. We have 12 law clinics in a range of areas, and I will in a little bit walk you through those 12 clinics. We say they all teach the same skills regarding lawyering, but they come in different types of substantive law and advocacy, and so you have a wide range to choose from. You saw some pictures, if you were here during the break, of the law school building, and I'm so sorry we're not there with you today. It would be nice to see you in person and show off our beautiful building that we love. But one thing you should know, our clinical program is unique because 3 of the 12 floors of the building are dedicated to our law firm, to our clinical law program. When you come into the clinic, you are a student attorney and you're assigned an office space. It's a cubicle with a desk, a phone. You can decorate it however you want. You are sitting among the other student attorneys in your law clinic so that you can collaborate and talk about the work you're doing. And we have state-of-the-art interview rooms so everything can be recorded for your own work as a lawyer, but also so we can teach you through the interviews of clients and witnesses and counseling sessions. We have a moot courtroom dedicated to our law firm so that we can get you ready for court. And the list goes on and on. So the second thing that I said, which is so wonderful about our clinical program and recognized by the national ranking, is that you have a chance to be mentored. And I'm going to focus on the faculty mentorship. I know Andrew has other mentors that he will talk about as well. But one of the special things, the unique things about University of Baltimore is our faculty-student ratio. We have one of the lowest in the country. The highest faculty-student ratio in clinic for you will be 1 to 6. The lowest will be 1 to 3. 1 to 3. And that means your faculty have time to help you prepare for whatever lawyering activity you're going to do. The faculty then comes with you during those lawyering activities in courts, for instance, to support your work. And then afterwards, the faculty member gives you feedback so that you can build off of what you did well and improve for the next time. So you have a lot of faculty attention and support, which is unique to the University of Baltimore. In addition, it's our job as faculty to make you the best lawyers you can be. Because we work side by side with you as you develop as lawyers, we get to know your work very well. We will be able to serve as your reference as you launch out into the world because we know specific things that you did well as a lawyer. And we think that's a wonderful thing about our clinical program. In addition, at the end of clinic, you will have a resume that is chock full of concrete and specific lawyering that you did, not just as a law clerk where you researched a memo, but you actually stood up with a client in court, for instance, or you worked with a community group to create a contract or an agreement. And that really speaks volumes that you are ready to hit the ground running in whatever job you seek after the University of Baltimore. The last thing is making a difference. You will be partnered with the community and with clients and advocates to seek justice for them, whatever that means for your client and your community. And I'm going to walk through just some examples that we've had recently. So again, I just want to reiterate, you will be a student attorney, and there, of course, is Elle Woods. She was a student attorney, and she was picked to be the lawyer by her client over, a real attorney, a post-graduated attorney. And so this will be you in one of the 12 clinics at UB. We always begin the semester with the solemnity of what it means that you will be a practicing lawyer. You will be sworn in. and licensed to practice law under the supervision of your faculty member. And here we have Shirley Watts, who's a judge on the highest court of Maryland, the Maryland Court of Appeals. And every semester she comes to swear you in as a student attorney licensed to practice law. So can you do this at UB? Yes. You can stand up in court because you're licensed to practice law. You can speak to the legislature in the Maryland General Assembly or otherwise to advocate for what your clients want. Here's a family law clinic student who's advocating for a bill to reduce the list of crimes that subjected juveniles to be tried as adults. One of the things that our students have done over this pandemic time, virtually they represented one of their clients who was in a Virginia detention center and was able to successfully get his release by arguing that due to his health issues, he was facing serious illness or death. So that was one of our great successes. Clinic doesn't stop, lawyering for clients doesn't stop, even in a pandemic. Of course, I mentioned the Innocence Project Clinic before. Our students work with the faculty in that clinic to release people who were wrongfully convicted and incarcerated. Here's Mr. Shipley, who was incarcerated for 27 years wrongfully. And the students and the director of the clinic were able to seek his release. We've had many such clients released. It's been a very successful clinic. As I mentioned, our students go before the Maryland General Assembly and they submit oral and written testimony in support of legislation that serves the goals of their clients. Here we have students who did so in the Human Trafficking Prevention Project. And they were able to testify on expanding vacating convictions for sex workers. And this year that law passed. The Civil Advocacy Clinic, we'll hear from Raquel from her experiences, but here were two students who successfully filed a brief in an illegal eviction case. They're the people who wrote the brief, they're the people who file it, and they're the people who will argue it to the judge. We'll have Andrew talk about the Community Development Clinic more, but one of the landmark things the Community Development Clinic did successfully this year is they've been working for years to get the Water Justice Bill passed in Baltimore, which means that people's homes won't be foreclosed upon and taxes will be apportioned appropriately for water. In the Family Law Clinic, all of our students represent survivors of domestic violence as part of their casework. And here we have two students who were successful in getting a protective order for their client. They're outside of the district court in Baltimore City. We have a mediation clinic for families that works on child custody mediation as well as other legal matters. And just one more point on mediation, that is a growing area and an important area of law practice. And so we're lucky to have this very cutting edge clinic. We have a low-income taxpayer clinic that counsels clients and represents them in tax controversy cases. Here we have two students representing a client in a counseling session. We have a student who represented successfully a client here in an asylum hearing for the Immigrant Rights Clinic. In the Veterans Advocacy Clinic, this just happened this fall. These two students were representing this veteran who was hospital bound. He couldn't leave, and yet he had a hearing related to his disability benefits. So they went into the hospital room with him to represent him in the hearing. Again, this was pre-coronavirus, but they represented him to hopefully get his benefits. The ruling isn't out yet. We have students who go into the Office of the Public Defender or the state's attorney's office, and they stand up like line attorneys and represent clients or the government in criminal cases, and that could be you. We have a new clinic, the Legal Data and Design Clinic. Here we have students who are testifying on a bill before the Maryland General Assembly. What they try to do is use big data to help achieve social justice goals for their clients, like the Office of the Public Defender or the Federal Public Defender. When I polled the current students, what would they want to say about the clinics? Again, the size of the word shows you the large number of people who said it. They wanted to talk about the fact that UB clinics gave them experience, mentorship, responsibility, autonomy, worked with community. It was practical, they grew, it was rewarding and collaborative. And I think that will be your experience when you come to UB as well in the clinics. Outside of the clinical program, we also have an externship program, which is excellent and extensive. It gives you the opportunity to work as a law clerk in a law firm, in a corporate counsel's office, or to be a judicial law clerk. The distinction between externships and clinics is you're not licensed to practice law, but you do get the opportunity to experience research and drafting and what is the life of a lawyer like. And you have a companion classroom component that helps you develop your professional identity. And I know Raquel can talk to that a little bit as well because she did a judicial externship. But you've heard a lot from me. I've gone on far too long, I'm sure. Your most important source of information is going to be these fabulous clinic students who represent really what's great about UB, and that is our law students. So I'm going to first turn it over to you, Andrew. I've already introduced you and said what clinic you're in, but I'm wondering if you could talk about your clinical experience and what it's brought to you.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Andrew Harvey. I'm a fourth year evening student. And as Margaret said, I'm in the community development clinic. It's a transactional clinic. So probably 99.9% of the lawyers that you see on television and in movies are litigation lawyers. But transactional lawyers kind of counsel and do day-to-day advice for their clients. They can work in a range of areas. They can work in real estate. They can write out contracts. They can work mergers and acquisitions. So it's kind of a different aspect of lawyering that you really don't see too much. So I thought that was pretty important when I was looking at clinics that I wanted to participate in. So there were a range of clients that I saw in my clinic. Some people were determining what organizational structure was the best for a certain organization. They were drafting bylaws or articles of incorporation for certain organizations. I even had a client where I had to determine how to start the process to build a motocross park in the city. So as you can see, there's just a range of areas that you can work in this clinic. It's very interesting. As Margaret was saying, we kind of work with the less fortunate and the often overlooked client or person in the city. So in addition to the primary cases that we work with, we had the secondary project, which was the water project. So we learned all about the water system in Baltimore City, the history of it, how it all works. And then we looked at that bill that was in the earlier slide. And then we actually had an opportunity to go to a clinic, a free clinic, and advise actual clients who came in with water bill disputes, water bill problems, any utility bill problems. They came in and we were able to direct them to maybe an organization who could help them or kind of figure out their problem for them and kind of point them in the right direction. Because otherwise they wouldn't be able to get help for that. So I thought that was a really good opportunity for us in addition to our primary cases in the clinic. And then talking a little bit about mentors, Margaret spoke about the great supervisors that help us in the clinics, but I also had, I think, a really great opportunity to work with the students in the clinic. So every week, you moot, in my case, you moot client advising sessions or you moot interviews, and you can really just bounce ideas off of the fellow students in the clinic. And like she said, you have your own desk, and the desk is kind of in like an open space area. So you can really just anybody around, any student around, you can talk to them, you can bounce ideas off of them. So I really think that your fellow students in the clinic really help to kind of push what you think being a lawyer really is and what you think a great approach to being a lawyer really is. And then in addition to the students, the actual clients that you work with, I think really help hone your skills as a lawyer. You can talk to them after your sessions, say, what did you like? What did you not like? You can record your sessions and kind of watch them back to see how you interacted with the client, what you did, maybe what you could improve on, what you did good, So I think in addition to the supervisors, you have a lot of mentors in the clinic process, which really help you to become a better lawyer. So I thought it was a great experience.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to turn it over to Raquel now.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Raquel Flynn. Like Professor Johnson mentioned, I'm a second semester clinic student. So I did civil advocacy clinic last semester, and I'm doing it again this semester because I loved it so much. I'm graduating this year, and I'll be clerking after graduation and then going on to Venable. And I can definitely say that the clinic has prepared me really well for my legal career. Different than Andrew's clinic, the civil advocacy clinic is definitely a litigation clinic. We get up in front of court and we argue. This semester, for example, I had a really great case, really relevant right now with all the unemployment claims that have been filed, but my client was an adjunct professor somewhere and her unemployment benefits were denied because the way the law is written right now, they're kind of excluded from that. So we argued in front of the Board of Appeals for the Maryland Department of Labor back in February that the adjunct should be excluded, or at least there should be a revision to kind of how they determine whether or not someone is entitled to unemployment benefits in the adjunct professor realm. And we just got our decision back that we won. And so my client is obviously really happy, and so am I, that my advocacy played a huge role in that for her. But echoing off everything Andrew said, the clinic program is just so helpful in that it gives you all the skills you need. I would have never gotten to argue in front of the Board of Appeals as an extern, or, you know, even probably not for a few years in my legal career. So this was something that I really got to do right off the bat. And your supervisors are so great in the clinic. Personally, for me, I had Nicole McConlogue, and she's just they're all so approachable, and they make it so you don't have to be embarrassed. They know this is your first time doing any of these things. And so you can talk to them and really bounce ideas off of them. And they really treat you like you're a colleague. We don't call them Professor so-and-so. We say Nicole, like they really, and Dan Hatcher, who's also in the civil advocacy clinic. They just want to make sure that we are part of this big law firm and we're all working together. So it was a really great experience for me, and I wish I could, you know, do it forever, but gotta graduate soon.
We wish we could keep you guys. Aji, tell us about your experience.
Hi everyone, I'm Aji Francisco. I'm a 2L day student in the family law clinic. And it's just been a wonderful experience. And so I know I had come into law school and had no idea what clinic was until maybe after the first semester. And I really chose the family law clinic is because I was very much interested in being a family law attorney. And you come to realize that there's like the classroom component, like just sitting in class and learning and going through the case law method. But there's also this experiential hands-on component that you don't realize until after you've started the process, that there's so much to the practice of law technically and modally that you wouldn't know, you don't know until you actually start practicing. And so I would say the experience itself has been amazing. 2 weeks before the semester actually started is when I actually started my casework. And it was a custody issue, an international custody issue with special immigrant juvenile status findings. And we thought that the case was just unwinnable. And you go and you prepare and you research, and you have the mentorship with your supervising attorney. And you have so many resources. And I mean, turns out we won the case to our surprise, but it just speaks to how empowering the whole process can be because you're actually a student attorney. The range of experience, child custody, divorce issues, sending Maryland PIA requests, which is a Public Information Act request. So statutorily, as a private citizen, you're able to make inquiries to government agencies, and they're compelled to give you responses. It really just gives you a broader exposure to what the practice of law can actually be, as opposed to, as Andrew put it, what you see on television. And it really gives you ideas about how you actually can use your degree after law school. I believe I've hit on all of the points, Professor Johnson.
Yes, that's great. I see, thank you all so much. I see some questions, so I'm going to try and target them a little bit. So first of all, The Rule 19-220 is the Maryland court rule that lets you be licensed to practice law under the supervision of a faculty member. The application process for the clinic is a lottery process. You rank your top clinic choices, and then priority is given to the students closest to graduation. So you could start applying as a day student your second year spring. If your top clinic is one that is very popular and say 3Ls who are getting ready to graduate wanted to take it, you may not be selected for that clinic. You may be selected for other clinics, and you could choose to either take the clinic you got into or wait and apply when your priority is higher. And let's see, I think someone asked what sorts of skills do we teach? So all of our clinics except for one, the Innocence Project Clinic, are 1 semester clinics. In that, there's a seminar component that's about 3 hours every week. In addition, you have supervision meetings with your faculty supervisor. You are taught skills like interviewing, counseling, negotiation. If you are in a trial litigation clinic, you're taught trial skills, opening statements, closing arguments, direct examination, cross-examination. If you're in a transactional clinic, you may be taught about contract drafting or project development and planning. The clinics are 6 credits. They count for your class, and clinic or an attorney externship are required for graduation, and the expectation is approximately 20 hours a week. Someone wrote, well, how do we learn substantive experience in 1 semester when courts take much longer? Well, that comes in with the clinic design by your faculty member. So for instance, in my clinic, every student represents a client who's been subjected to domestic violence in a protective order matter. And those cases go from start to finish. It could be as quickly as a week. It could be longer than that. So you will get a start to end experience in the family law clinic. And then you'll also have longer term clients where, as Aji said, maybe the case is going to a hearing that semester, but maybe instead you're working on drafting the complaint and discovery requests. But during that, you're interviewing clients, witnesses, counseling, and maybe even negotiating if it's a mutual consent divorce. So there's a lot of ways you get experience in 1 semester as that licensed student attorney. The way that Raquel was able to stay for a 2nd semester is most clinics do accept a few advanced clinic students, and those students usually stay on, probably like Raquel you did, to make sure that they can see their client's case through to a hearing. And because they have the expertise on the case, they've been working with the client, they want to continue through that on that matter. And so that's certainly an option for students who are interested in doing that. Let's see. Raquel, do you want to talk about your judicial externship?
Sure. So my first semester of my 2L year, I was a judicial extern for Judge Russell in the federal U.S. District Court. It was definitely a different experience than clinic, but just as valuable. First of all, you get to make a great relationship with a judge and their law clerks, who Judge Russell is super influential in this community. He's a really nice person also, and I got to learn a lot about him through meeting with him. It's also a really cool experience to be able to go in there and they give you a bench memo basically and say, here's this case we're deciding, research it for us and kind of give us a memo on what you think. And Judge Russell is somebody, and I think a lot of the judges are like this, where he really values his externs' opinions. And we would be repeatedly brought into his office in chambers and say, okay, you researched this case, how do you think it should come out? Or we would go watch the trial, and afterwards we go back in his chamber and say, so what do you guys think? What do you guys think I should rule? And so that's pretty crazy as a 2nd-year law student, that you're kind of influencing a judge's decision in a way, and just interacting with them. But the main difference is you don't get to get up in front of court. Definitely not in a judicial externship, because they're not arguing cases, they're hearing them. But in an attorney externship as well, you're not licensed, so you can't argue, but you can do the research and prepare the lawyer who is going to argue.
Thank you. And Andrew, I see there's a lot of question and answer. I know we're almost out of time, but this is super important from evening students. So Andrew is an evening student. He's in an evening clinic. I would like to say, before I turn it over to him, in addition to his clinic, the Community Development Clinic, we have many other clinics that are for evening students. So the veterans and day students, but they occur in the evening. Human Trafficking Prevention Project, the Veterans Advocacy Clinic, the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic, the Innocence Project Clinic, the Legal Data and Design Clinic, and the Mediation for Clinic Families. So we've really worked hard to make sure that we have experiential opportunities that are excellent for evening students as well as day students. So Andrew, how did clinics work for you as an evening student?
So personally, I thought the community development clinic was very appealing because it's transactional work. You don't have to kind of do it in court hours, which are 9:30 to 4:30. So I met clients on the weekend. I met some clients at night after I got off work. Most of the times the clients are pretty flexible, and also they have jobs too. So the schedules kind of line up. What you're going to find as an evening student, you're going to be hustling and grinding every single semester. But luckily clinics, you have to do them later in your law school career. So my schedule was lighter than it is in the first 2 years where you're kind of grinding out all the standard classes. So I had the 6-credit clinic and then just one other course. So primarily all my time and concentration was set on the clinic. So it wasn't hard to get those 20 out. That's the 20-hour limit that you had to get. It's definitely possible. It's hard. It takes work, but I had 12 other people in my clinic that were evening students, and they got through it. So as long as you work hard and as long as you can organize and kind of keep track of your time and make sure you're spending it properly, it's not a problem at all.
Thank you, Andrew. And I see a question again about application. Every semester, there's a time to apply for a clinic where the lottery is run before registration. So you find out before you register for all your classes what clinics you got into. And then it is for the following semester. So we ran our clinic lottery around in March, and that will be those students who will take clinic in the fall. I think we might have answered all the questions that I see.
So, Professor Johnson,
Yeah.
mine, we usually get many questions in admissions and this for that process and why there's a lottery and what that would mean for someone who wants a specific clinic. And I know you did an overview of that, but many students like to hear more about that.
Sure. The lottery process is very transparent. So we have a clinic fair where every semester where you can come and visit our tables. You can do that during 1L year. So you can get a sense of these different clinics. I did a quick overview. You could meet the students who are in the clinic. You get to meet the clinic director. After that clinic fair, we run the lottery, and there's a application you submit where you rank the 12 clinics. We always recommend that you rank more than one, because as I said before, if it's super popular and you're a 2L spring semester, the 3Ls get pulled out of the lottery before you. We do a lottery rather than making people apply. Some schools do make people apply, and some people never get clinic as a result. We very much believe in our clinical program. We believe, as I said before, we are teaching the same skills and values throughout all of our clinical programs. They're all excellent. We know students will benefit from any clinic, and we think lottery is the fairest way to make sure everyone gets this quality experience in the time that makes sense for them. So we do a lottery, and it's based on your ranking, so you have some control over that. And again, as I said, by when you will graduate. Then once you find out which clinic you got into, you make a choice. You meet with the professor, you learn more about the clinic, the hours, the type of work that's being done there, and you can make a decision. Am I going to accept this offer from this clinic, or am I going to put my, take other classes the next semester and apply for clinic the following semester? I should say there is a lot of movement. After the lottery, you get into a clinic, but also put on a wait list. There is a lot of movement off that wait list. I don't know if any of the three of you got off the wait list, but there can be quite a lot of movement. So it also is possible, even if you didn't get into your top choice, you might actually by the time that semester comes. But as I said in the chat to the question and answer, every student who wants a clinic can get one by the time they graduate. UB has made our experiential education requirement. It's only fulfilled by taking a clinic or an attorney or corporate counsel externship. We want you to have that client experience before you graduate, and that's how we defined it. And so you have to take either clinic or externship. So of course we want to make sure it's available to you. And so any student who wants a clinic will get one. I hope I answered the lottery question. Let's see, there are more questions down here. So someone asked, do students end up working in the field? And are clinics more conducive to finding employment? So that's interesting. I mean, we think we've done a good job in clinic if we've either, let's say my clinic, the family law clinic, either students are like, rah, rah, yes, I'm all in on family law, or they decide, you know what, family law is not for me. Because if you have that experience and you realize what you're passionate about, what you like, or maybe there are pieces of the lawyering you like and pieces that you don't like, it's helping you find your career path. So I don't know how much time we have, but do any of the students, does one of you have an example for how your clinic work has connected to your employment? Aji's a 2L, but Raquel and Andrew are both graduating, if I remember correctly. Raquel?
Answer. The Civil Advocacy Clinic is all civil litigation, and I'm clerking post-graduation for an appellate judge, so there'll definitely be some litigation there. And then I'm going to Venable, and I'm most likely going to be in the products liability group, which is definitely civil litigation. I've just kind of always known I wanted to do litigation, so I don't know if I can say that the Civil Ad Clinic pointed me in that direction, because I always knew I wanted to do it, but it definitely like solidified it for me.
Great. Aji?
This coming summer, I'll actually be working in the Dallas County DA's office, and one of the units that they have is the family violence, domestic violence unit, and so I'll likely be doing work in one of those units. And based on the work that we do in a family law clinic and the exposure to Maryland state code, it'll be a little easier to navigate the Texas family law code and domestic violence code. But also soon after law school, I'm much more interested in like starting my own family law firm, solo practice. And the clinical experience definitely manages my expectations around how I would go about practicing law and interacting with clients and the judiciary itself. So,
yeah. And one of the experiences Aji had and that picture that I showed you on the slideshow was he and two of his colleagues were able to go to the Maryland General Assembly before it shut early this session and submit written and oral testimony in support of a bill that would require free menstrual products in all of Maryland's public schools. And through that experience, he learned that being a legislator and being involved in legislative advocacy is part of what lawyers do. And so I think, Aji has shared that that's something that interests him down the road as well. So let's see, chat. Well, I don't see any more questions. I hope we were able to address your questions well enough. I did want to share the last screen of my slideshow has our email addresses and our names. I know the students welcome you to email them. Please do. I welcome you emailing me. Please do. I love to talk about the clinical program and the externship program, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Again, I'm so sorry we didn't get to meet in person. One of the things we love to do is get to know you, what you're interested in, and guide you about what's great about UB and the clinics that might be good fits for you. We can still do that virtually, so please reach out. And thank you so much for coming.